Hi, good morning. My name is Mason Rolfe with Olympia Community Solar. I'm super excited to get to talk to you all today about my favorite subject, which is solar energy and how to do solar in a community fashion. So to start out, to introduce our organization, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We have a mission to steward an equitable and accessible transition to clean energy. And now that we have 100% clean energy legislation at the state level, it's really no longer a question of if or when the clean energy transition is going to happen. Now it's a question of how it's going to happen. So we're here to try to make it accessible and equitable. About a year ago, we started to approach the question of how do we turn what's normally a very individualist choice of installing solar on your home into a collaborative community effort. And after a little research, the answer was really clear that it was through a group purchasing program. And that's what Solarize is. There have been several successful Solarize campaigns. It started in Portland and spread all over the country. And there have been a couple here, right here in Washington, Solarize Queen Anne, Mercer Island, and Whatcom. And the success of these campaigns was kind of how we set our initial goal of 50 Solarize contracts. We saw that these other campaigns had about that success. So in this campaign in particular, our team took on the role of going out to our community partners and approaching solar installers and financiers and saying, hey, what's the best group purchasing campaign you could bring it, group purchasing contract you could bring us if we were able to secure 50 solar installations. Our group is also creating and providing the educational materials for the campaign. And I really think of our role as kind of a union organizer almost. If the customers in the campaign were union members, we're here to represent the customer and communicate between partners. So in terms of timeline, back in February, we secured those group purchasing contracts. Out of the 4 solar companies that created bids, Capstone Solar won the contract. And out of the 2 different financial institutions that submitted group purchasing bids, psccu had the best offer. And then today, and I forgot to update that date, but today, May 16th, we've seen 63 solar installations contracted through the campaign. And about a week ago, we increased our goal from 50 to 100. So really excited to see that success. And I think it's a real testament to the strength of the group purchasing offer. And the campaign is going to continue through September 1st. That's the real only deadline for signing up. As long as you contract by September 1st, you can still access the group purchasing rates. So let's dive into what exactly are the benefits of the campaign in general. And I'll also then look a little closer at what are the benefits of solar in particular. So benefits of our Solarize campaign is we're trying to make solar more affordable, simpler, and turn it into a community effort. So on the affordability side of things, there's net metering, which I'll talk about in a future slide. There's a tax credit from the federal government. I'll also go more into depth with that. And then our 2 specific campaign benefits is we have a group purchase rate from the installer. The bids you'll receive for your solar installation will be at this $1.95 per watt price. There are a few escalators if you have special situations with your building, but those will all be clear and outlined if they apply to your situation. And then the other big group purchasing is that we'll have discounted financing, and psccu is offering 1% off their normal interest rates. And one thing I'll mention with the financing is if you do end up choosing a different installer, you can still access that discount and financing. So you'll have freedom of choice if you end up not wanting to go with Capstone's proposal. So let's jump into each of these different benefits, starting with net metering. Net metering is really the cornerstone of how solar works here in Washington. So I'm going to play this little video. And Chris, could you give me a thumbs up if the audio is coming through? Yeah, okay.
How does net metering work? If you're thinking about going solar, you might be wondering how you're supposed to keep your home powered when the sun isn't shining. Thanks to a policy called net metering, you don't have to worry about your home going dark. When the sun is shining during the day, your solar panels will make lots of electricity. If you're making more than you need, your electric meter will run backwards because you're actually sending that excess energy back to the grid. In exchange, your utility gives you credits on your electric bill for all the power you sent them. Then, at night, when your panels aren't producing electricity, you can use the credits you've stored up to get electricity from your utility and power your home. If your panels haven't produced enough energy to meet your needs, don't worry. You can always buy the extra from your utility. Don't expect to get a check in the mail if you produce more solar power than you need. In most cases, you'll get credits on your bill, but your utility won't pay you for them. The specifics of net metering depend on your utility company, and we recommend...
Okay, so that's a quick demonstration of net metering. Just to reiterate what they were saying there in the video, is that as your solar array produces energy, it's first consumed by your home. If you produce more energy than you're consuming at any given time, it flows back into the grid, and your utility provides you with credits for that power that you provide the grid. Here in Washington, it's a 1-for-1 trade. So you provide 1 kilowatt hour to the grid, you get a credit for 1 kilowatt hour that you can use either at night, or maybe you produce a lot of energy over the summer, and then you can use those credits in the winter when you're not producing as much. But then every year in April, those credits reset to 0. You don't receive a dividend or anything for that. So that piece of it is one of the reasons why the Capstone team will try to size your solar array to match your home's annual consumption to maximize the benefits we get from those credits, but not to produce more energy than you use on an annual basis. So I'm going to move on, and if folks have questions about any of these subjects, just drop them in the chat, and we'll also do a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So next one is the income tax credit. Oh, there we go. So the income tax credit is just what it sounds like. It's a credit from your due of income taxes to the federal government. I really like not having to pay taxes. So this is one way to do that. When you have a couple more people showing up, when you make your solar investment, you can claim 26% of that investment as a credit from your taxes. If you don't use that whole 26% in the first year, it rolls over to future tax years. One thing to be careful though is you need income taxes in order to claim this credit from your income taxes. So if you're retired or you don't have income, you should definitely talk to your tax professional and make sure you can claim the credit. And Jesse, yes, we can provide a copy of the PowerPoint for future reference. There's also a recording of this webinar available on the Solarize Thurston webpage. So moving on from tax credits, this is a really important piece of the payback, and you'll hear later on that both the installers and the financiers plan for customers to use this tax credit in their proposals. So moving on, the community aspect of this Solarize campaign. One, we're reducing pollution. I don't know if you've looked recently at Puget Sound Energy's mix of power, but it's coal and gas dominant. There's quite a bit of wind power, but solar only makes up 1 or 2% of the mix. So by installing solar, we'll be reducing the amount of carbon emissions that are in our energy. Another piece of it is that you'll be joining 99 of your neighbors and local businesses in installing solar together. And we'll be doing a few collective recognitions at the end of the campaign and trying to bring people together to have kind of a community around owning and producing solar energy. And finally, one of the pieces that really won Capstone the contract in the campaign is that for every 50 kilowatts that we earn through the campaign, that's every 5 homes or so, our team is going to help support a low-income family to install solar. And the ways we're doing that is that Capstone is offering discounted capacity, and our nonprofit is organizing low-income customers and finding more financial resources for them to fund that discounted capacity. Really excited to start working to get those installations going. And I think based on how much we've enrolled so far, we have enough for about 14 low-income homes already. Okay, signing up. It's pretty simple. The first step is to fill out the form on the Solarize Thurston webpage. That will basically be your contact information and your address. And with that information, Capstone will reach out to you to schedule a free virtual home assessment. What they do there is they look at your home on a satellite tool. And the other piece of information they'll need is a copy of your power bill. So make sure to bring that with you. And with those two things, that they can quote you how much solar energy you need. The real only deadline, as I mentioned, is September 1st for contracting. But if you were to sign on to the quote that Capstone provides you, the next step that happens is they'll send out a drone pilot to your home and take a drone video of your house, and it actually creates a really cool 3D rendering. And they use that 3D rendering of your home to create the engineered design of the solar array. With the engineered design, they'll apply for permitting. That's through the city. And finally, once permits are approved, they can schedule you for installation. We expect the whole process to take 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how complex of a project it is. So I think that's kind of where I want to stop. So I'll go ahead and invite Chris Van Dalen with Capstone Solar on to talk about your proposals.
Thank you, Mason. And thank you everyone for attending today and being interested in looking at solar for your own homes. I'm Chris Van Dalen. Some of you may have known me from previous work with the Eco Building Guild, but about a year ago, I joined the team at Capstone Solar, and I've just been loving the opportunity to get solar on so many people's homes. It's been a great experience, and this Solarize campaign takes that to a whole new level. I mean, you saw the numbers from Whatcom and Seattle, and none of those were even over 300 kilowatts. We're already at, what was that, 600 kilowatts, Mason?
The update that I talked with Rich yesterday, and we're at 740 kilowatts.
700, that is outstanding. I wonder if we'll get the record for the largest Solarize campaign. Anyhow, Rich, who Mason just mentioned, is my boss, and he's been doing these presentations, but I'm filling in for him today. Just want to talk a little bit about Rich. He's the director of our residential solar division. He's a 5th generation Olympia guy who used to own the Reef restaurant and helped develop Old School Pizza. Some of you know that. He also started a solar manufacturing company about 10 years ago in Tumwater called Pure Solar, and then decided to work with Capstone and join forces with them. Capstone Capstone Solar is part of a larger company called Capstone Solutions, and they have started off doing telecommunications infrastructure, cell towers, and other things that got them into doing utility scale solar. So on the utility side, we do like big solar farms that are 50 megawatts in size, enough to power a whole small town. But then Rich got involved and started the residential division, and we've been going strong since then. So what I want to tell you a little bit about today is what to expect if you decide to take up the opportunity to join the Solarize campaign in the process. Now, Mason went over it a little bit there, but I want to give you a little bit more detail. Is there a next slide, maybe?
Yeah, before we move on, Chris, could you describe where the local Capstone office is and the capacity for residential installs?
Yes, absolutely. We have we have offices in Lacey, out on the Meridian campus, also in Bellingham and Portland, and our head office is based in Redmond, Washington, for Capstone Solutions. Okay, so as Mason said, when you join the Solarize campaign, they're going to turn you over to us. We're going to give you a call. And the first step is to develop a preliminary design for your home. Like Mason said, engineering based on satellite imagery. But we also need, even before we meet with you, we're going to collect your utility bill, your electricity bill, so that we can analyze that and fit the solar array that we designed for your home, fit that to your energy needs based on your last 12 months of history. So we'll be looking to gather that utility bill, especially the front page that has that green bar chart on it that shows 12 months of your energy usage. So the point of that is that we can fit the solar array size to meet as much of your energy use as possible over the course of a year. Each home is different, of course, so it's sort of like a fingerprint. We have to really kind of fine tune it and get it dialed in for your home, both your energy needs as well as how much solar can fit on your roof, what's the best place to put it, and all of that. So we gather as much information as we can about your particular situation. And as Mason mentioned, the $1.95 $1.95 a watt price is based on a pretty simple install. If you have like a very tall home or you need a new roof, there's other parameters that come into it that we would then tailor the proposal to that. Now, on the left side of the screen, you'll see an example. This is a home that we could only fit 26 panels on, 9.49 kilowatts, and it was able to offset 71% of Christina Evans' energy use over the course of a year. Did you want to say something? No? Okay, I just heard a little. So a little bit about how that works out, as Mason was explaining the net metering program, the blue bars here that you see are your energy use, and that's coming straight off of your energy bill. The gold bars is what the solar array that we've designed is projected to produce. And so in these months of May, June, July, or May and June at least, this home would be producing a little bit more than they use. And then in July and August, you get to use those credits up. As soon as the credits are gone, you've used them all up, then you'll be paying electricity bills for the rest of the year. Now, a lot of homes were able to offset 100%, and these gold bars go way up above the blue bars in the summer when there's a lot of available sunlight and we're producing a lot of energy. So then you end up using those credits out through the rest of the year. And ideally, by March or so, you've used up all of your credits. And our goal is to design the system that's, not any more than you're actually going to need, so that you don't end up giving away power. Because as Mason said, there's a reset date, end of March, April 1st, you're now reset to zero. So if you have any credits left over at that point, you lose them. So you know, and the other point of doing this design and not having you overproduce your energy is that we want to give you the best value as possible out of your solar array. You know, there's a lot of good reasons to do solar, from pollution and supporting a group effort, but the ultimate thing for all of us is really, is it going to save us money? How is this investment going to pay for itself over time? And so, you know, so that's why we take so much care in understanding your home. And as we said, we'll actually send a drone pilot out to take about 10,000 or 8,000 pictures of your home, flying over in concentric circles. And that we use that to generate a very realistic, very accurate 3D rendering. And as you can see here, in the right-hand side of the picture, this is it projects the trees, the shade. It looks at, you know, exactly what tree types they are and what they're projected to growth pattern. When it comes to your roof, we're able to map this down to 1/4 of an inch. You can actually see the granules of composite material on your roof when it's so accurate. And so this allows us to give you a very precise design that's really going to be delivering what we say it is. In fact, we usually try to be conservative and under promise, and so that when you are surprised and you're actually producing more than we said, you'll be happy. So let's see. So if we go to the next slide. So when we sit down with you, we'll present the preliminary design there and the offset percentage. We'll also give you a pricing proposal like what you see on the screen now. So in this example, it's a 9.49 kilowatt system that the total cost is $19,995. Now that's before any of those tax credits kick in. And again, if you know, we're going to work with you to kind of make sure you understand, or we understand your tax appetite, so that you will be able to take as much of that credit as possible. Now, the credit is all awarded in the year that you install solar. Even if you can't take all of that tax credit, say Christina here, she only has to pay about $2,600 a year in federal taxes. Well, she can take $2,600 this year and $2,600 the next year, and roll it over. In fact, she could, right now we know that credit would be good through at least 3 years, as long as the incentive is available. And so it could be extended longer, but we can't promise that. So there's also another tax credit that some of you may be able to take advantage of if you have a home-based business, or if you have if you work from home for a business. You can take a depreciation on a part of your investment in solar, because that's a part of it's powering your business as well. That's the maker's tax credit. It might get you another 5 to 10% off back on the system investment. We also have an incentive that Capstone offers. We call it We Paid bonus, and it's a bonus that we offer to our customers, because we know that the best marketing we could ever have is happy customers who are going to tell other people about it. And so if you're willing to be a reference for us and give us some referrals, maybe put a sign in your yard for 3 months, and just a few things, real easy stuff that is going to happen pretty naturally anyway. If you are willing to be a part of that, we'll write you a check for another $1,500, or in this case, that's the amount for this example. So that brings you to the net cost after incentives of $13,000 and $13,296 there. That really gives you a sense of where the overall cost benefit is and where the value comes in. The value comes in because you're going to eliminate your electricity bills. And that's the next section of the proposal, where you look at the solar production. That system that was offsetting 71% of this person's bill was producing 9,910 kilowatt hours a year. And at current PSE rates, that translates into a yearly savings of about $1,000. Break that down by month, $86 a month. And, then you can compare that to that's the amount that you would be spending on electricity without solar, but the solar array is going to replace that amount of electricity. So if your bills were, in this case, 71% more, maybe $120 a month, she would be knocking $86 off of that bill. Now, that's of course at current PSE rates. Now, do we think current PSE rates, Mason, are PSE rates projected to stay the same or go up in the future? They go up, right? The average over the last 20 years has been about 4 to 6% inflation per year. But PSE themselves have said that they're projecting it may actually go up a lot faster because of all the shift from coal and natural gas into electric, into renewable energy. And so you might see as much as 10% inflation in years to come. But we like to be conservative. Even if there's only 5% inflation, over 25 years, the system would be warranted to deliver $49,000 and $580 in avoided electricity costs. Now you compare that to the net cost up above of 13,000, and it looks like this person is going to be making about, saving a lot, about two-thirds of what they would have spent on electricity over again. So the real question is, what are you going to do with that extra $30,000? Are you going to go buy a new car, or go to Hawaii, or just save it for your retirement? A lot of things there that become possible if you're investing in solar and offsetting those electricity costs as they grow up. And that's only at 5%. If it goes up faster, it would be even better than that. So we're going to talk in a second here. We're going to hear from Puget Sound Cooperative Credit Union, but the final part of this proposal is the analysis of how this pays for itself if you choose to take advantage of the attractive financing, the special financing that's available under the Solarize campaign. So if you finance that full amount of $19,995 at the beginning, that would leave you with a starting monthly payment somewhere between $125 and $140 a month, depending on your credit history and your debt to income ratio and a few other things, the rate that you get. But in this case, it'd be $131 a month that they would start at. Which is more than the 86 that they're spending on electricity. But the beauty is that this is a special solar loan. And so they're going to allow you to re-amortize that loan after a year, because they know that you're going to get that tax credit. And if you then take that tax credit, apply it to the principal on the loan, as well as we pay, or 12 months of payments, that will actually re-amortize and bring your payment down to $88 a month in this example. And now you're looking at cash flow positive in the second year, where in the first year you actually got a $1,500 payment from us that covers your costs for that first year. But and so you're immediately saving money, and then you save more each year after that with the rates, the PSE rates going up. Your rates are locked in. You've got a price on your solar system that's not going to change, and therefore you end up saving more money each year. So that is pretty much what I wanted to share. If there's any questions about how this process works, pop them in the chat, or maybe there'll be some time at the end of this so we can discuss further. But I guess next up is Puget Sound Cooperative Credit Union with the lease. Right?
Let me ask you one or two questions there, Chris. So
Sure.
First question, so even if this example customer, if they couldn't use the tax credit and they didn't want to do the WePay, they would still be saving about $30,000 over 25 years of having.
Absolutely. Yep. Even if you couldn't take advantage of any of these incentives, and it was $20,000, your total cost, that 25-year warranty savings is a conservative estimate, and you would conservatively still save $30,000 over that period.
And then can I ask you, could you describe a little bit about what installation looks like, and then the equipment that we're using, and then maybe also maintenance?
Absolutely. So once the drone flight has happened and we get that final design, we get the permitting done, and all those costs of permitting and design are included in the single price that you pay. We then come out and do the installation. Most of these are going to take 1 to 3 days for installations. Larger projects or more complex projects might take a little longer. And then our crews are going to come out and and put the solar onto your roof. For one thing you should know is that we have a 10-year warranty on our materials and workmanship, so that you have the guarantee that if anything happens with your system that's due to the materials themselves, we're going to be standing behind that. We're going to replace or fix any problems that you might have for up to 10 years. And part of that is that your roof, you've got a warrant. You might have a warranty on your roof, and all of our installers are certified Owens Corning installers, so that so it doesn't void your roof warranty. It just adds the solar warranty onto it. We only use tier 1 panels, which means they're the best quality panels that have extra layers of quality assurance in the manufacturing process and are verified on a repeated basis. And so that's partly because of our utility side, where with those big, large installations, there's millions of dollars at stake. And so we have to be absolutely sure of the reliability of the system. And we just bring all of that knowledge and technology to bear for our residential side as well. So you get the best of utility scale, tech design and installation at a residential scale. Let's see, did I cover materials? Oh, there's also an inverter that's part of the system. All of the solar panels feed electricity, DC electricity, direct current, and the inverter converts that into alternating current, which your home can use in your outlets and lights and all of that, and for your heating system. So all of that installation process between the initial proposal, the design, and permitting, as Mason said, probably 4 to 8 weeks in the process. And once you're done, you get an email from us that also introduces you to the ability to monitor your system remotely through an app that you can pull up on your computer or your phone, and you can actually watch your solar panels producing electricity. They update every 15 minutes on that monitoring. Now that is a free part of the project that you can monitor your system for 5 years for free. And we're also going to be monitoring your system remotely for that first 5 years to make sure everything's working properly. And if anything ever pops up, you may not even notice, and we'll call you and say, oh, well, it looks like one of those panels isn't producing what it should be. So, that's the kind of, the capacity and expertise, the real commitment to quality that Capstone brings to this, in addition to the best pricing available. That this is about 20% below normal market rates, maybe a little more. So. Mason, did I cover that properly or fully?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for the detail there. I guess my last question is, once the system is online and it's generating energy for the customer, what sort of commitments does the customer need to make to maintain the system?
Oh, right, maintenance. Well, in most cases, unless you have a lot of trees or dusty farm next to your house, you're not going to need a lot of maintenance on the system. The systems themselves don't have any moving parts, so there's really nothing to break. And so once it starts, it's usually going to be reliable from that point forward. But in terms of keeping them clean, we actually do have a really remarkable free cleaning service here in the Northwest. It's called Rain. It's constantly washing your panels. And so, you might, if you have trees around your house, you might have some needles and whatever build up, and you can just kind of go up like normal roof maintenance and clean the panels off just by spraying them off with a hose. Maybe a little washing, but don't want to do too much of that because they're sensitive to too much abrasion. Anyway, it's pretty simple, and in most cases you won't have to do much maintenance at all. It just would be along your normal roof maintenance cycle.
Great. And if folks do need support in cleaning their panels, we can reference you to a local window washer that is happy to help out with that sort of stuff. Well, very cool. And I'll loop back with any questions that show up in chat for you at the end, Chris. But for now, I'd love to introduce Elise from psccu to talk about how to fund these solar installations.
Yeah, so hello, welcome in everyone. Thanks for joining our virtual event. I never know if you guys can hear me, so am I good? Volume wise? Okay. All right, so my name is Elise McQueen. I work with Puget Sound Cooperative Credit Union, also known as psccu. We've been around since 1934. Before we were psccu, we were actually the credit union for Puget Sound Energy. And currently we have 4 branch locations. I work as the branch manager for our Tacoma branch, and we also have locations in Renton, the Vashon Island, and our main office is in Bellevue. We've got a great group of people, great team. It kind of leads to the next question. Not many know who we are. So who is PSCCU? What does our credit union stand by? Well, one thing our credit union lives by and stands behind is, as a whole, is that we're committed to socially responsible banking. And what that means is that our products and services, they not only help our members and the environment, but also helps our community and economy. As an example, we're currently offering what we call our green up loans, which give a rate discount if, say, you were wanting to purchase an electric, hybrid, clean diesel vehicle. We also offer loans for bikes and kayaks. So we try to make it evident that we want these loans to be designed to help empower our members to put their eco-friendly wishes into action. It brings us to our next topic, specifically if you guys were wanting to take advantage of going solar with your home. And then the next slide. So why choose us? Why choose PSCCU for your solar financing? What makes our solar loan different from what other financial institutions may be currently providing? For starters, we have a promo going on for Thurston County homeowners who want to take advantage of the special group purchasing rate. So for the first 90 days, we will be giving these members 0% interest, no payments owing for the first 90 days of your loan. And these are zero down loans. Our rates are fixed rates. They start as low as 3.75%. And we can go up to a loan term of 15 years or up to 180 months with no penalty for early payoff. We include several options. Chris from Capstone had mentioned the option to re-amortize. So say, for example, you receive your tax rebate incentives next year and want to apply it towards your loan. At that time, your first re-amortization is at no cost and will lower your monthly payment based on your new solar loan balance. Also, we can include other work that may be needed for going solar, such as if you're needing your roof replaced, cutting down trees at your property. With this loan, you can also include other energy efficient projects you may be needing for your home, maybe possibly updating your HVAC system, so getting a new heat pump or furnace installed, wanting battery storage, windows insulation. All of that counts and can be included with this loan. And then if you're looking at the slide now, these are actually homes of our members who we've helped with financing their solar project. We've helped families all over Washington, even expanded our solar loans out of state. Currently, we also have Energy Smart loan programs for residents that live in Oregon, Alaska, Idaho, Montana, even out in sunny Arizona. And so if you guys wanted to take advantage and are interested in our financing, it's actually a pretty easy process. And if we go to the next slide, it should, is there a next slide? Maybe that was the slide. I think we skipped one, Mason. Maybe it was the one before.
No, sorry, the contact info is at the bottom there though.
Oh, got it, okay. Well, it's fairly simple, really efficient. So for our members, you'd want to apply online or on our website. So it's www.psccu.org/Solarize Thurston. Quick process, you'll most likely hear from your loan officer within the first 24 hours of applying for the loan. And once approved, you can sign paperwork electronically via DocuSign or visit any of our branches. We're pretty quick. We're a small branch, small offices, but we're readily available to answer any questions. And you can definitely shoot us an email, ask us at psccu.org. And then our main office phone number, 425-283-5151, to speak directly to a loan officer if you had further questions. think that's it for.
I see one question come up in chat for you. Is there any early payoff penalty?
No, so no penalty for early payoff. Like I said, we can go up to loan terms of 15 years, but most of our members, I want to say within 5 years, we see these loans getting paid off. So it's definitely up to the member if they want to use that affordable monthly payment, or if they definitely just want to pay it off sooner.
Great, thank you. So I'd love to open it up to anyone if you have questions about really any piece of the installation process. And I just saw one came up in chat. Let me open this up. Billy says, do we have to deal with batteries, or is the system connected directly to the utility? And that's a great question, Billy. Most of the systems that we see don't include batteries at all. It's just connected to the utility through a thing called net metering. One reason to install batteries is for resilience. If, say, someone in your household is medically dependent on electricity, that's a good reason to install a backup battery. I don't know, Chris, do you have other reasons that you see folks pursuing batteries?
Well, some folks are interested in being off grid, being fully independent, which is, a motivation for maybe getting batteries. The reality of that, though, is that battery prices are so high still. We do see them coming down, but in the next couple of years. But to invest that much in batteries, you would have to have, to be completely off grid, you'd have to have a lot of batteries, and that would be probably cost prohibitive for most folks. But it's certainly an option. In any case, it's nice to have that backup, the electricity grid, in case you need it. So you would have the option of being connected as well. But in terms of the batteries, we don't really recommend them. As Mason say, most systems don't have it because you get to take advantage of the grid as basically your backup or your storage, because you get those credits through the net metering program.
Thanks. And Chris, what would happen if the power grid goes out?
Well, if the power grid goes out and you don't have batteries, you'll be out of power just like everyone else. The solar panels will produce electricity, but you can't use it because it would feed back onto the grid and potentially endanger the line workers. So we do have inverters that allow you to take advantage of that and be able to power your home directly off the solar array if the power goes out, even if you are connected to the grid. But that's one of those escalators. It would be a more expensive inverter. So that's an option. It still wouldn't be able to produce a lot of electricity, maybe enough to power your phone, charge your phone and have a couple lights on. But that is a technological solution that you can take advantage of.
Okay, and if someone wanted to include a EV charging station in their contract with Capstone, is that something you all can include?
Absolutely, we love to do EV charging, and that's really one of the only cases where if you think you might be buying, where we might actually oversize your system to produce more than you need. Currently, is if you're thinking of buying an electric vehicle in the next year, and that's not showing up on your current energy use history, it's basically another 2 panels for the average commuter to power an electric vehicle, an additional couple of panels, and that might put you at 110% of your energy use. And we can do that if you're pretty sure you're going to buy an EV and put in a charger. Now EVs can charge in a slow process just from a 110 outlet with the proper adapter, but you can an EV charging station is called a type 2 station, and that charges much faster. You need special equipment for that, and we provide that equipment.
Very cool. Okay. Another question from Billy. For older homes, are we likely to have additional costs for electrical upgrades? And are those costs reflected in your proposal?
Yes, let me answer that one if you would. If you have an older home and for example, you need to upgrade your panel to accommodate the system. Now, we can only install a system if the electrical system is up to code. So if you need to replace your panel, if you have really the only panel breaker panel brand that is not compliant is the Zinsco panel in some of the older homes. In which case we would add that to your proposal, and it would be another $1,500 to $2,000 for a panel upgrade. If there's other electrical needs that have to be addressed, obviously we'll include those in the proposal.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing, maybe should just talk kind of along the same lines. If your roof is not in good condition, or you think it's going to need replacing in the next couple of years, we don't install solar on roofs that have less than 10 years of useful life in them, because then you're just going to have to take the panels off again to re-roof the house. And so, if that is the case for you, you have an old roof that's going to need to be replaced. We can incorporate that into the project. Capstone is a full-service solar and roofing company. We have roofing subcontractors that we have master agreements with that we can do this as a single package deal. And as Elise was saying, you can include that roof up to a certain amount of the percentage of your total project cost. You can include the cost of replacing your roof in the solar zero down solar loans, which it's really hard to find replacement roof financing for replacement roofs, and certainly not for 15 years. Usually it's much less. And so this is a great opportunity to get your roof done at the same time, and then just have one low monthly payment.
Cool. Okay, I have a question from Jesse. Will the solar quote that the customer receives from Capstone, will that include all the taxes that are included with, the cost of their installation?
Oh, right. Well, fortunately, this is actually one of the incentives we didn't talk about, and that is that solar in Washington is exempt from sales tax. So the cost that we provide you is before sales tax, but there's no additional sales tax that's going to be added to the project. In terms of, that doesn't apply to roofs or electrical upgrades, by the way, in terms of the tax exemption. In terms of the federal tax incentive, that's not, and you don't get that back from us or from the bank. You get that back from the IRS when you file your annual tax return. So if you do your solar installation this year in 2022, when you file your tax return, you would include an additional form. I think it's IRS publication 3965. And then you include that on your in your tax return submission, and then you would get that back in the form of a tax return. But that's not included. We don't have control over that, and we're not guaranteeing that you're going to be able to take all of that, and that's why we want to look at your tax appetite, what you owe each year, and make sure that you're going to be able to take advantage of that tax credit. But we can look at that together when we talk with you.
And another question from Jesse about other fees that the contractor has to deal with. The city or the county. I can answer that. Yes, we call these solar quotes a turnkey proposal. So Capstone is including the cost of permitting, any other like bureaucratic hoops they have to jump through. And so you as the homeowner don't have to worry about doing that sort of stuff.
If I could just add to that, when we send you the contract paperwork for the solar installation, we also fill out all the forms that have to be submitted to the Department of Revenue and Labor and Industries, et cetera, so that you can sign all of them at one time with the DocuSign application, the DocuSign process.
Cool. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick so I can see your beautiful faces. If I missed your question, please let me know and we'll try to get it answered.
I have a question, Mason. That picture that showed all of your team floating in the air, was there, way back there, is there some like levitation technology we could incorporate into our installations? Because that would really save a lot of money
Yeah, we
if
can
we could do it by
actually,
levitation. Yeah,
we can levitate your workers and their equipment onto rooftops. That's something
that's Olympic Community Solar is just the most amazing organization. Yeah.
we specialize in hovercrafts actually. Yeah, so I do want to throw out another mention that if you have a site assessment and you want a competing quote, reach out to our team and we can connect you with other local installers. Same thing goes with financing if you want to see competing quotes for financing. The idea of this campaign is definitely not to corner the market, it's to encourage, competition and that sort of thing. So happy to do that. The other thing I'll mention is if you come back and it turns out that your house isn't the perfect site for solar, you can still participate in what's called a community solar project. It's a large centralized system where you buy a solar panel of a bigger system and we can send you annual payments for how much that produces. Right now we're working on a system called Sunflower. It's going to be installed on the Olympia Farmers Market, and it's also featured on our webpage. So yeah, it's a good option if solar is not accessible for your rooftop. I haven't seen any other questions come in, but if you have any, drop them in the chat, unmute yourself, ask them. Chris, did you have something?
Well, not a question, but just a question that someone might ask is about trees. If you have a lot of trees around your house, that's going to obviously be factored into the production quote in the preliminary design. And then ultimately with the drone flight to really make sure that those trees are not putting too much shade on your roof. If you're surrounded by trees and your roof is shaded, even if it seems like you got sun in the summer, you may be surprised that the shade does have a pretty big impact. So, you're always welcome to consider trimming those trees or removing some trees, but we don't encourage that. I mean, trees are actually one of the best solar collectors out there. It's just that they don't feed electricity into our grid. So, but they do feed a lot of other great services that we need. So, if you've got trees, take advantage of the community solar installations that Mason was just talking about in order to participate in solar.
I do have another question for you. If a customer has issues getting financing, can they back out of their commitment to install solar?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the way that the sequence of things that we do with this process is we have you sign the paperwork at the beginning, even before or at the same time you're applying for the loan. And if the loan doesn't come through and you can't come up with alternative financing, we can't hold you to any contracts unless we receive your deposit, which in the case of financing comes from the bank. And so if that doesn't happen, then there's no contract. So yeah, you can back out. There's also, a stage of which you get to see the final design. And if you don't like what you see, you can just, say, oh, we're not gonna do this after all. So you have a lot of flexibility in the process. We're not trying to rush you into this or push you into it. Although we do ask you to sign that paperwork initially, it just kind of triggers the next stages of design. The drone flight and the funding application. You got to get all that paperwork in place so that the bank can approve the loan anyway. So,
yeah, I'm going to drop the link for Sunflower in the chat if people want to check it out. Units in the project represent about half a solar panel and they're $300. You can purchase or donate units to local nonprofits. So yeah, check it out on our webpage there if you're interested.
Mason, you should mention this is not your first community solar project. The first one, the Hummingbird project on the Hands-on Children's Museum, has already fully subscribed and installed, and people are enjoying the benefits of community solar already.
That's approach. Drop that one in too. Thank you for the shout out, Chris. So can I invite closing comments from any of our panelists and any final questions before we wrap up here? It's just about noon and it's a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon. I'm sure we'd all love to get on with our day.
I'm already out in the sun.
There we go.
Well, I'll just say that it's, there's really never been a better time to go solar. Prices on panels have come down so much in the last 10 years, about 90% overall. Now, other things have gone up, but the prices have never been like this. And with the Solarize group purchase program, you're not only getting probably the best price in history on solar, you're also contributing to our community's collective effort to address, climate change and reduce our carbon emissions, to reduce pollution that affects all of us, but especially those communities that are least able to, deal with it. It helps to improve the equity, and that's one of the reasons we partnered with Olympia Community Solar to support low-income families to get solar, who might otherwise not have the opportunity to take advantage of that. So really appreciate the opportunity to work with this project, Mason, and on behalf of Capstone, looking forward to working with all of you.
Well, feel free to reach out to our team. Like I said, we're the customer advocates here. And I'll be posting this recording on our company YouTube page, just YouTube Olympia Community Solar, if you want to see the recording. And if you'd like a copy of the slides, just shoot me an email here. I'll drop my email into the chat as well. Chris and Elise, would you all be willing to write any contact information you want to provide into the chat?
Certainly.
Oh, I'm direct messaging.
This might take a while, but let me try. Okay, so I'll give, let's see.
Thank you all for coming. It's so nice to be able to.
All right. Thanks, Mason. I've got to get some tomatoes in the ground, so I'm in my Farmer John clothes, so I'm about to go get my hands in the soil.
I am going to go down and check on my staff who are at the Olympia Farmers Market right now talking.
Excellent.
Talking solar. Okay. Well, that's pretty. There we go. Cool.
I'm gonna put the 800 number.